Here we go. Suit of Pentacles. We did it. It's amazing that these sort of action-packed videos that I've just made are probably the shortest ones I've ever done. So, I have found, just as an incidental thing, that the better I've gotten at reading, the shorter my readings are. Go figure. So, the Suit of Pentacles, the Suit of Earth. For me, I like that coins are the Marseille thing because they are money, but also I think it's life, it's responsibility, it's family, it's just the thing. It's where like the suit of wands would be vocational and desire, passion, the things that you really want to make and do. The Suit of Pentacles is like going to work and like the grind and doing the thing and paying the bills and changing the diapers and making the dinner. It's just life. It's life being life. It's our responsibilities. It's money. It's all of those daily things. So the ace, just to jump right in, the Ace of Pentacles would, or coins would be a new responsibility, a new job, a new source of income. It can also be a little bit of something with the Ace of Pentacles. It could be like a little bit of money. You want to think about, if you're thinking about financial aspects, think about how much coins are in the reading. And so like if there's a 10, that's more money than the ace. So that can be a thing to pay attention to. The Two of Pentacles, which the Golden Dawn called the Lord of Harmonious Change, would be to me, I really can't. So two, again, if you watch the other videos, twos are like this attraction and repulsion, right? This magnet, this duality, this connection. It's hard for me to just not think of the Pamela Coleman Smith image, and that like life is requiring you to juggle all this stuff, and you're trying to like make them fit together. You have competing responsibilities, for example, and that's kind of how I think about that card often. Again, context. The Three of Pentacles, which they called what did they call it? The Lord of Material Works. That would be growing responsibilities. 3, growth, or growing finances, so it's expanding. Your bank account's getting a little bigger, your responsibilities are getting a little heavier. I do love the Pamela Coleman Smith. I think this is probably my favorite of her suits, and that idea of collaboration, I think 3 things coming together to build something greater, is kind of a nice idea of expansion and growth, because it takes it. I mean, if you think about what a cathedral was, and that it took entire villages and generations to finish, I think that's kind of a beautiful metaphor. And it is kind of a communal responsibility, and it took a lot of money as well. The Four of Pentacles is the Lord of Earthly Power. And I know that the miserly image on the card, it doesn't necessarily get in the way. Again, remember, if you watch the other videos, 4 is stability for me. And so having stable finances, having stable responsibilities, you want to protect that. We want stable finances. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think that is legit. And it's not necessarily miserly to be thoughtful. But you can't, being so stable with your responsibilities and your finances can make you kind of a Scrooge. And so I think that I sort of see it. So, yeah. The Five of Pentacles is the Lord of Material Trouble. And that's that famous... This is the book I'm getting the esoteric titles from, so just curious. It's out of print. So, yeah. This was the first book I ever had, and I just was looking at it the other day, and she uses them. Where was I? 5. So the Five of Pentacles, of course, the famous image of the people outside the church and this sort of poverty thing. 5 is disruption, and so it can be a disruption to your finances, and so I can see that. It can also be a disruption of your responsibilities, things are shaken up at work, whatever. There can be negative things to it, but again, a disruption of your finances could be a financial windfall that you weren't expecting. It could be a giant bonus that you weren't expecting. Like, a disruption is anything that's unexpected and that shakes up the status quo. So it can be a good thing too. And that's how I think about that card. The Six of Pentacles was called the Lord of Material Success. And again, sixes for me are beautiful, good, balanced, and so your responsibilities are balanced, your checkbook is balanced, you feel good about where you are at work, you feel good about where you are at the family, so you're feeling good. And that kind of like charitable image on the card, I think, is fair. It doesn't certainly conflict with how I read it. Seven's always interesting. The Golden Dawn title is the Lord of Unfulfilled or Success Unfulfilled. And that image always sort of had such a lovely sort of reap what you sow kind of quality to it. And actually, as the Seven of Pentacles, as this sort of introspective moment, it's sort of saying, look what I've made. Look at my finances, look at my responsibilities, what's still important to me, And so I do get that sense with the Seven of Pentacles. What is important to me in life? What am I yielding? What am I spending my money on? Am I spending my money on the right things? So the Eight of Pentacles is the Lord of Prudence. And eights for me are work. And so I think that card perfectly sums up you're doing your job. You're doing what you're supposed to do. The Nine of Pentacles, which they called the Lord of Material Gain, may be my single favorite picture by Pamela Coleman Smith. I love that card so much. Love it. It doesn't sort of jive with how I read nines, but I still love it. And it does. I love that picture so much that it does influence the way I read it sometimes. But nines are, I'm gonna get it done. It's like it's pushing and like, oh god, it's like you're working overtime to make ends meet. Or you're like your responsibilities are so built up that you're never gonna get through your to-do list. It's like that overwhelm of pushing, of grinding to get it done. And then the 10 is interesting. It's like the thin. You got the job done. You got the to-do list done. Your savings are in great shape. And you can relax a little bit. It's done. It's over. Like you've done the work. You got the stocks and the bonds and all that stuff, and everything's stable. And that's sort of that. And it does sort of depict, I think, nicely on the card. I think it's hard to sort of read the Ten of Pentacles negatively, but again, context. And then the Court of Pentacles, you've got, a student who's like figuring out what their responsibilities are, a knight who's like going out and doing the work and looking for work and engaging in the world. Nine of Pentacles is kind of my favorite knight, or my favorite of the court cards in Pamela's Coleman Smith's art. The Queen is facilitating it. She's like a banker, or she's like a wealth management and a stockbroker. You know what I mean? She's like making the money happen. And then the King is set. He's comfortable. So those are my ruminations on the suits. It's so much shorter this time than before because, again, as I said in the first video on these, is like so much of the way that I read has changed. But the other thing that I want to say too, especially if you watch the swords, is that like while the image is not primary for me, it does contribute. It's just that it's not what I reach for initially. Sometimes I will go for it. Sometimes it is so astoundingly clear that the image is there that I can't ignore it, and I'll absolutely read that image. The way that the images tend to work for me principally is like who's doing what. Like as I'm creating a narrative, I'll look at 3 cards and I'll be like, oh, this is the main character and they're doing this to this other character. And so like, it's not even the card meaning necessarily that I'm looking at, but the way the actors are engaging with one another in this scene, because I'm always using at least 3 cards. And then that will help me sort of start to tease out narrative. Like once upon a time, there was this dude who was doing this thing to this other dude, and this dude and the sun came out. And like that sounds dumb, but like I start to like tease out these little stories based on the people in the cards. And I'll also think about where they're looking, who's looking at who's looking away from who, whether they're looking to the left or the right, whether everyone's looking to the left or the right, or are they back to back. That's where the images come into play for me. The absence of people, or whether there's only one person in each image. Like if there's a lot of solitary cards, that will be interesting to me. Like that's how the images work, is sort of like a little picture book. And I start to sort of, because they work together, again, the context of the 3 cards, that is where things start to come together for me. with the image, and that's principally how I use them to start with. And so the images are not important to me, but they're not the card meaning. They're not only the card meaning, and the card doesn't only mean the image. It's where I've landed on. So that's what I got, my friends. That's sort of where I am and how I'm reading the suits and the cards today. And again, context change. Like I could do a reading and apply none of what I just told you in these 4 videos, because the context will take me in a different direction, and that's kind of how it's supposed to go. But this was really just made for your interest, and hopefully it was interesting. So be well, take care, talk to you soon.